Now then, Lewis Hamilton is back at the Mercedes headquarters for the first time since that dramatic news yesterday that he will be joining Ferrari in 2025. Craig Slater is there for us right now. Craig, very good afternoon to you. Any more details about how this happened?
Yes, we have had some more details today about how things unfolded today. Just to outline and put a bit more detail on what you just mentioned, here at Lauda Drive, Mercedes HQ, Lewis Hamilton driving the simulator of this year's Mercedes car for the first time. More about that later, but reports from inside the factory say it's been business as usual, no particular tensions, even though Lewis is leaving the team. But yes, we had a call with Toto Wolff, the Mercedes team principal today, who explained that it was over breakfast on Wednesday morning in a face-to-face meeting that Lewis Hamilton revealed to him that he would be exercising the break clause in his Mercedes contract and had already signed a deal with Ferrari. So it was done face-to-face. Toto Wolff explaining that it wasn't so much of a surprise, and also offering one or two interesting details as well, that maybe Ferrari were able to offer Lewis Hamilton something which Mercedes were not. That's to say, an extra little bit of longevity in terms of this deal, possibly even better financial terms as well. The expectation is that Lewis is perhaps once again the best paid driver in Formula One and has supplanted Max Verstappen, who's held that status for the last year or so. But yes, a multi-year deal for Lewis at Mercedes starting in 2025, so taking him into the new rules of F1 with the new power units as well from 2026 onwards, and something, at least when Lewis was negotiating his last deal with Mercedes were not prepared to offer. Toto Wolff did admit that it was at the timing of it, the exact timing of Lewis telling him this was a surprise, but perhaps the fact that he was going to Ferrari and that was fulfilling an ambition was not.
When we resigned the contract with Lewis, we opted for shorter term, and so the events are not a surprise, maybe the timing. So what happened is that we got together for coffee in my place in Oxford, and him returning basically him returning to the factory, and he said to me that he has decided to race for Ferrari in 2025, and that was basically it. And we had a good hour of conversation, yeah, this is where we are
now. Do you feel that Hamilton has made this decision, Craig, because of Mercedes' expected performances this year?
I asked Toto Wolff directly that very question. Did Lewis say that he was doing this because he felt there was a better chance of winning an 8th world title at Ferrari than he did at Mercedes? Had he become in some way disenchanted with the Mercedes project? Toto Wolff told me that they did not mention that at all. It was more along the lines of Lewis needing something fresh to revitalise himself at the age of 39 or 40, as he will be when he starts driving for Ferrari. So a change at this time of his career may be the right thing. Maybe the relationship with Mercedes was coming to its natural end. He also spoke interestingly about still as a friend, hoping Lewis could be successful even after he's left Mercedes, even though he would rather it were Mercedes rather than Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari winning championships. Interestingly, in terms of this, which I think will be much talked about, and there's an interesting article on the Sky Sports website about this, picking up on some of Toto Wolff's comments, did he hint ever so subtly that he was looking more towards the next generation of drivers, and that influenced why Lewis was only offered this 1+1 year deal with maybe the option on either side to bring that to an end earlier than even the full 2-year term? He talked about perhaps being a little bit frustrated that Lando Norris, although he didn't mention him by name, and Charles Leclerc had signed up to long-term deals, so that rather limited what Mercedes could do in terms of who they bring in to replace Lewis Hamilton. But in terms of the chances of Lewis winning that 8th championship in his final year at Mercedes, well, it wasn't a wholly optimistic prospect that Wolff outlined.
what he said is that he felt he needed change, and I can understand that. We have been together, I believe it was 12 years. I don't know if any other driver has ever been that long with a team. We've had tremendous success, and I think we looked, we shared the opinion when we decided to sign a short-term contract that there may be opportunities for him and for us. And therefore, I think also maybe one of the consideration was the opportunity to sign a longer-term contract with Ferrari and give it a really big go at the end of his career. We didn't talk about, whether the opportunity was better there or with us, because I don't think you can say.
So in terms of Mercedes, of course, the big question that their fans will have is who's going to replace Lewis Hamilton in 2025 when he moves? Any noises there?
Yeah. Well, as I outlined there, yes, Leclerc and Norris seem out of bounds. They'd have been the obvious replacements to go for, to bring in an A-lister to replace a departing A-lister. And as I say, they're both under contract long-term now with the respective teams, McLaren and Ferrari. Although Wolff rather jocularly made a reference to F1 contracts as being interruptible. So might they be planning to buy one of those, or at least attempt to, out of their current deal? Let's see. I think the favourites at the moment would have to be probably along the lines of possibly Carlos Sainz, who is leaving Ferrari to make way for Lewis Hamilton. What about Alex Albon, who's currently at Williams? His team boss is James Vowles, the former Mercedes strategist. Maybe they're the two front runners at the moment, but let's wait and see. Mercedes will take their time, and as it was explained to me today, the chief priority for them is to get the fastest car in F1 again, and if they have that, the drivers will naturally be attracted to it, but they seem a little way away from that at the moment. One thing which will continue, by the way, are some of the very important partnerships and initiatives that Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes worked upon together, particularly to increase diversity within motorsport, to get underrepresented groups into engineering programs and that sort of thing. That will continue even though Lewis Hamilton will be leaving here in a year's time.